After 12 years of sacrifice, I uncover my mother's shocking betrayal and rise to reclaim my life, my freedom, and the identity she tried to erase. I place the last crystal goblet on the table and step back to admire my handiwork. The salmon gleams under the soft light of the dining room chandelier, nestled on Grandma Alice's antique china. Vera Lynn's beloved embroidered tablecloth drapes perfectly across the mahogany, not a wrinkle in sight. "Simone, did you remember the lemon wedges?" Vera Lynn calls from the living room, where she entertains her bridge partner, June Parker. The television murmurs in the background, the volume set to precisely the level my mother prefers. "Right here," I answer, arranging the slices in a fan pattern, just the way she likes them. My fingers work methodically, practiced after 12 years of these small accommodations. Cousin Lucas arrives with a bottle of white wine, kissing me quickly on the cheek before hurrying to greet our mother. The Andersons from next door follow shortly after, bearing a small gift wrapped in silver paper. Our gathering is intimate, just 5 guests to celebrate the woman who gave me life. When everyone is seated, I lift my glass for a toast. To Mom, on your special day. May this year bring you joy and— Actually, Vera Lynn interrupts, her voice clear and crisp as the wine in our glasses. "I'd like to say something." She smooths her napkin across her lap and surveys the table with the satisfied look of a queen addressing her subjects. "You've all been so kind to come today. At my age, birthdays make you reflect on what truly matters." Her gaze falls on me, and something in her eyes turns cold despite her smile. "And what would matter most to me? What would be the best gift my daughter could give me?" She pauses, her voice lilting upward like she's announcing a wonderful surprise. "Is to leave my life." The room freezes. June's fork stops midway to her mouth. Lucas stares at his plate. The silence stretches like pulled taffy, thick and uncomfortable. "Mom?" The word leaves my mouth, a question hanging in the still air. "You've done your duty, dear. 12 years is quite enough sacrifice, don't you think? It's time we both moved on." Her tone is light, as if discussing a change in weather rather than casting me aside. My hands go still in my lap. I can feel 5 pairs of eyes shifting between us, witnessing this moment when the ground beneath me crumbles away. I rise from my chair, napkin falling forgotten to the floor. Without a word, I walk to the coat closet, slide my arms into my jacket, and step outside into the cool evening air. Behind me, the birthday cake sits uncut on the sideboard, its candles unlit. The night air cools my heated face as I walk without direction. 12 years ago, I was 26 and flourishing in my master's art program. Professor Harwood had called my work revelatory and hinted at gallery connections for after graduation. Then the phone call came. "Simone, I've fallen, it's my hip." My mother's voice trembled over the line. "The doctor says I'll need surgery and months of rehabilitation. You're all I have." 2 days later, I packed 3 suitcases, just until she heals, and moved back into my childhood home. I deferred my final semester, promising my professors I'd return in 6 months. But 6 months became a year became 2. Somehow 12 years slipped away while I wasn't looking. The days after the birthday dinner pass in a haze. By the 3rd morning, my phone buzzes repeatedly. Vera Lynn's name flashes on the screen as she goes out. I watch it ring until the screen goes dark. Instead of answering, I pull out the leather-bound journal I bought myself last Christmas, but never used. On the first blank page, I write, "I've been erased from my own life." The words stare back at me, stark and true. When I finish writing, I do something I haven't done since moving back home. I lock my bedroom door. The small click of the mechanism sliding into place sounds like freedom. As I sit on the edge of my bed, memories surface. I remember returning from a weekend art retreat to find my childhood bedroom repainted. The soft yellow walls I'd chosen were now beige. My mother had smiled, pleased with herself. Surprise, I thought the room needed refreshing. My art books had been rearranged, posters taken down, my space remade in her vision while I was gone. It was just one moment in 1,000 similar moments, small erosions that accumulated until the person I was became buried beneath the person she needed me to be. I stand before the mirror now, studying my reflection. When did these fine lines appear around my eyes? When did my shoulders learn to curve inward like this? My art career, my friendships, even potential relationships, all sacrificed at the altar of filial duty. The woman in the mirror looks like a stranger, and I realize with startling clarity that I barely recognize myself. The next day, the fluorescent lights of First National Bank buzz overhead as I wait in line, clutching my account statement. A hollowness has settled in my stomach since the birthday dinner 4 days ago. I've barely spoken to Vera Lynn, our paths crossing in silent choreography around the house. Next customer, please. The teller, Marlene, according to her nameplate, smiles as I approach. Her salt and pepper hair reminds me of my art professor from years ago. I'd like to review my account transactions for the past year, I say, sliding my ID across the counter. Of course, Miss Bennett. Her fingers tap efficiently across the keyboard. Your joint account with Vera Lynn Bennett, correct? I nod, watching her eyes scan the monitor. Something shifts in her expression. Is there a problem? I ask. Well, she hesitates. There have been several transfers from this account to another account solely in your mother's name. How much in the past 12 months? She clicks through screens. $7,800 total. My fingers grip the counter edge until my knuckles turn white. The room seems to tilt slightly. May I see the transfer slips? My voice sounds distant, belonging to someone else. Marlene turns her monitor toward me, then retrieves paper copies from a drawer. Here they are, all authorized with your signature. But they aren't my signatures. Close, but not mine. The loops are too rounded, the final stroke too long. These aren't my signatures, I whisper. Marlene's expression softens with recognition. I should mention, this isn't the first time money has moved between these accounts. What do you mean? Similar transfers appear regularly over the past few years. She lowers her voice. Your mother told Mr. Dalton you approved all household expenses when she was in last month. The floor beneath me feels suddenly insubstantial. I thank Marlene and walk outside. The manila folder of transaction records heavy in my hands. When I arrive home, voices drift from the kitchen. Vera Lynn and June Parker sit at the table, teacups between them. They fall silent when I enter, two pairs of eyes tracking my movements. Simone, we were just talking about you, Vera Lynn says brightly. The brooch pinned to her blouse catches the light. Grandmother Alice's cameo that disappeared from my jewelry box last Christmas. Were you? I open the refrigerator, my back to them. Just saying how dedicated you are, Vera Lynn continues, giving up everything for me. I turn slowly. June's eyes hold something, concern, pity, that contrasts sharply with my mother's placid smile. That's one way to put it, I say. June shifts in her chair. How are you managing with the roof repairs? Vera Lynn mentioned they were quite expensive. Roof repairs? The words come out sharper than intended. The leak over the guest bedroom, Vera Lynn says smoothly. Remember, dear, from that storm in April, there was no leak. No storm severe enough to cause damage. No repairs I've seen evidence of. Must have slipped my mind, I say. Later, after June leaves, I search my mother's desk while she naps. Beneath her tax returns, I find property documents I've never seen before. The deed to our house, my childhood home, shows alterations to the ownership percentages. My name, once equal with hers, now appears as a minor stakeholder. I check my separate savings account online. The balance reads $1,247.82. Last year, it held over $12,000. My emergency fund, built from years of careful saving from my library salary. My legs carry me to the attic, where I stored my art supplies, expensive brushes, imported paints, canvases I'd been saving for someday. The corner where they live now holds stacked plastic bins labeled Vera Lynn's Craft Corner in my mother's handwriting. When I confront her about the missing supplies, she waves dismissively from her armchair. I donated those old things. You clearly weren't using them, and I needed space for my new hobby. The senior center is offering ceramics classes. Those were my professional supplies. You had no right. This house runs my way or not at all, Simone. Her voice hardens. I thought I made that clear at my birthday. June calls the next morning. When I answer, she asks if Vera Lynn is nearby. She's at her bridge club, I say. Listen carefully, Simone. June's voice drops to nearly a whisper. She's been telling everyone you're mentally unstable. Claims you've been forgetting things, misplacing items, having mood swings. She showed us a brochure for a facility. Said she might need to consider options for your care. My throat tightens. Why are you telling me this? Because it isn't right. A pause. And because I've seen how she treats you. After we hang up, I make an appointment with an attorney later that day. Tomas Reyes listens without interrupting as I lay out bank statements, forged signatures, and altered property documents across his desk. Financial exploitation of family members is unfortunately common, he says when I finish, but provable. We can protect what assets you have left. As I drive back from the attorney's office, I wonder if I should confront my mother immediately with what I've discovered, or quietly make my preparations to leave. Direct confrontation might satisfy my anger, but careful planning might protect what little I have left. What would you do when the person who should love you most is actively working against you? 3 days later, the phone rings 4 times before stopping. Then it starts again. The third missed call from cousin Lucas this morning. I check the voicemail, pressing the phone against my ear. Simone, I heard you've been acting strangely. Mom talked to Aunt Vera Lynn. We're worried about you. Call me back, okay? I delete the message and place the phone face down on the kitchen table. 3 days, and Vera Lynn has already launched her counterattack. The realization settles in my stomach like a stone. When I check the mail that afternoon, Mrs. Anderson from next door watches me from her porch. Her usual friendly wave is replaced by a tight-lipped stare that follows me back inside. Later, I overhear a hushed conversation through the open window. Such a shame when the caretaker needs care, Mrs. Anderson whispers to her husband. Vera Lynn says she's been having episodes. Episodes. The word coils around my throat like a snake. That evening, an envelope slides under my door. Inside, a formal invitation on Vera Lynn's monogrammed stationery family meeting. Saturday, 2 p.m., June's house. My name isn't listed among the attendees. I've become a topic, not a participant. The next morning brings fresh revelations. The credit card statement arrives with my name but unfamiliar charges, a diamond bracelet, dining at restaurants I've never visited, a weekend spa retreat in Scottsdale. My heart pounds against my ribs as I scan the total, $4,760. At the credit bureau office, the clerk's expression shifts from professional to pitying as she scrolls through my report. There are 3 accounts opened in your name in the past 8 months, she says, all carrying balances. Were you aware of these? I shake my head, my mouth dry as sand. You might want to file a fraud report, she says, sliding a form across the desk, though it gets complicated when it's family. Family. The word no longer means safety. The doorbell rings the following day, and my body responds before my mind can catch up, pulse racing, palms sweating, breath shallow. I peek through the curtains instead of answering. The UPS driver leaves a package and walks away, but the damage is done. I become afraid of my own doorbell. That night, I search for my birth certificate and social security card in the filing cabinet where they've always been kept. The folder sits in its place, but the contents are gone. My passport is missing from the desk drawer. Even my college diplomas have vanished from the wall, leaving rectangular shadows on the faded paint. I begin carrying my driver's license in my bra rather than my purse. I take photos of my room before leaving each morning, comparing the images when I return. The hairbrush moved 2 inches to the left, the drawer containing my journals slightly ajar. My reading glasses nowhere to be found. Someone is searching my space, erasing me piece by piece. Then, unexpectedly, a lifeline appears. A small white envelope slides under my bedroom door one evening. Not Vera Lynn's formal stationery, but plain notebook paper folded into thirds. The handwriting is unfamiliar. You are not invisible, and you are not wrong. No signature, but I recognize the lavender scent of Elaine Darnell's hand lotion, the neighbor who lives 3 doors down, who smiles when we cross paths at the supermarket. I tuck the note into my journal, running my fingers over the words until they blur beneath my touch, the first validation I've felt in years. Saturday arrives with the weight of inevitability. I hear them gathering in the kitchen, Lucas's deep voice, June's characteristic laugh, the tap of Vera Lynn's cane against the tile floor. I stand in the hallway listening. She refuses to see reason, Vera Lynn says, her voice trembling with practiced vulnerability. We'll talk sense into her, Lucas assures her. I step into the doorway. The conversation halts. 3 pairs of eyes turn toward me. Simone, Lucas stands, his expression a mixture of concern and condescension. We need to discuss your behavior. My behavior? The words escape in a whisper. The erratic spending, the paranoia, the accusations? He counts off on his fingers. After everything your mother's done for you, this is how you repay her? Something shifts inside me. A tectonic plate moving after years of pressure. I straighten my spine, feeling my full height for the first time in years. No one has the right to demand my entire life in return for being my parent, I say, my voice steady. Not even her. Lucas blinks, startled by the clarity in my tone. You've always been dramatic, Vera Lynn interjects, reaching for June's hand. She gets this from her father's side. Dramatic? I laugh, the sound foreign to my own ears. Is it dramatic to want autonomy? To question why my signature appears on documents I never signed? The doorbell interrupts us. I answer without hesitation, relief washing over me at the sight of Tomas Reyes in his pressed suit, leather portfolio tucked under his arm. He nods professionally. Miss Bennett, I have those documents you requested. Behind him stands Elaine Darnell, her silver hair catching the afternoon light. I hope I'm not intruding, she says, though her firm expression suggests she doesn't care if she is. I thought you might want a witness. They step inside, and suddenly the kitchen feels balanced. 3 against 3. Tomas opens his portfolio on the table, revealing notarized bank statements and highlighted forgeries. These transfers occurred without my client's knowledge or consent, he explains, his voice measured and calm. The signatures have been professionally analyzed and confirmed as forgeries. Vera Lynn's face pales. June studies her teacup with sudden interest. That's impossible, Lucas begins, but his protest lacks conviction. It's all documented, Tomas continues, including the credit accounts opened in Miss Bennett's name without her authorization. I stand beside Tomas, aware that my voice no longer shakes when I speak. I'm freezing the joint accounts today and initiating legal separation of property. You can't do that, Vera Lynn snaps, the vulnerable act dropping away. I'm your mother. Being my mother doesn't entitle you to my identity, I reply. Elaine steps forward. I've witnessed Mrs. Bennett admit to signing her daughter's name on multiple occasions, claiming it was just easier that way. I'd be happy to provide a statement. Vera Lynn's mouth opens and closes without sound. The meeting ends with Lucas escorting my mother and June from the kitchen, his certainty visibly shaken. Tomas reviews next steps while Elaine makes tea. For the first time in 12 years, I feel the house expanding around me, making space for my presence. Hours later, after Tomas and Elaine have gone, I return from a walk to find the front door ajar. Inside, Vera Lynn stands in the living room. My suitcase is open on the floor, her hands filled with my clothing. What are you doing? I ask. She doesn't look up. Packing your things. If you want independence so badly, you can have it. I watch her methodical movements, recognizing the final desperate maneuver of someone losing control. But this time, her actions don't fill me with fear. They set me free. 2 days later, the locksmith slides the new key into my palm, solid and gleaming. All done, ma'am. 3 exterior doors and 2 interior. Nobody's getting in without your say-so now. I close my fingers around the metal, feeling its teeth bite into my skin. Thank you. After he leaves, I walk through each room of the house, testing locks, mentally reclaiming territory. The master bedroom, once Vera Lynn's exclusive domain, now bears a brass deadbolt that only my key can turn. I've moved her things to the guest room while she was at June's yesterday. My phone buzzes with a text from Tomas, bank accounts separated, password reset on all financial portals, documented 6 forged signatures so far. For 12 years, I've been the ghost in this house. Now I'm becoming solid again, one boundary at a time. When Vera Lynn returns that afternoon, her key slides uselessly against new tumblers. I watch through the curtains as confusion crosses her face, followed by indignation. She jabs the key harder, twisting with increasing force until her knuckles whiten. When she finally looks up, our eyes meet through the window. The shock on her face is worth every penny I paid the locksmith. I open the door just enough to speak through the gap. Your things are in the guest room. We need to talk about the forged signatures at the bank. This is ridiculous, she sputters, her voice rising to carry to the neighbors' houses. My own daughter locks me out of my home. My home, I correct her, voice steady. The deed shows I've owned it since Grandma Alice passed. The deed you tried to alter. My home. Her performance falters momentarily before she recovers, eyes brimming with rehearsed tears. I'm calling Lucas. The family needs to know what you're doing. Go ahead, I say, closing the door softly. That evening, my phone lights up with a call from June Parker. I nearly decline it, assuming she's acting as Vera Lynn's proxy, but something makes me answer. Simone? It's June. Her voice sounds different, hesitant, without the usual confidence she displays at my mother's side. Vera Lynn's called an emergency family meeting at my house tomorrow. She's telling everyone you've had some kind of breakdown. My stomach tightens. I expect as much. I thought you should know what she's planning. June pauses, then adds, I could record the conversation, let you hear what she's saying behind your back. The offer surprises me. Why would you do that? Because some things she's claiming don't add up. She said you stole money from her accounts, but I was there when she bragged about using your credit for that cruise last year. Said you'd never notice. I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. She told you that, and more. I kept quiet too long because she was my friend first. That was wrong of me. After we hang up, I sit at my kitchen table, spreading out the financial documents Tomas helped me gather. Each paper represents another betrayal. Forged checks, credit accounts opened in my name, transfers from joint accounts. The evidence forms an undeniable pattern. The next morning, my phone rings again. It's Lucas, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. I just left June's. Your mom's saying some pretty extreme things about you. Let me guess. I'm unstable, ungrateful, possibly stealing from her? His silence confirms it. Some of what she's claiming doesn't make sense. She said you've never paid toward household expenses, but I remember you mentioning taking a second job to cover the roof repairs last year. The repairs she arranged without telling me, then forged my signature for payment? I keep my voice calm, factual. Lucas, I have the documentation. Actual proof, not just accusations. Another silence. I'd like to see it if that's okay. Come by tomorrow, I'll show you everything. That night, Tomas calls with updates on the legal documentation he's preparing. We've established a clear pattern of financial exploitation, he says. With the bank records and the forged signatures, we have enough for a formal complaint. While we talk, Elaine from next door drops by with a homemade casserole and helps me rearrange the living room furniture. We move Vera Lynn's heavy wingback chair to the basement and bring my reading chair down from the attic, where it's been stored for years. The room already feels more like mine. How are you sleeping? Elaine asks, straightening a lamp on the side table. Last night was the first time in weeks I didn't wake up at 3 a.m., wondering what she'd do next, I admit. Good. That's a start. After Elaine leaves, June calls again. Vera Lynn's changing her story now. Yesterday you were irrational and dangerous. Today she's saying you're just confused and need family intervention. Because the dangerous narrative wasn't working? Exactly. Some of the family is starting to ask questions she doesn't want to answer. I thank her for the information, feeling a strange mix of vindication and sadness. When June offered to help me expose my mother's manipulations to the family, I hesitated. Would bringing everything into the light finally free me from her control? Or would it just drag me deeper into a conflict I was trying to escape? The next day, Lucas actually comes by, as promised. He sits at the kitchen table, carefully reviewing each document I place before him. His expression grows increasingly troubled as the evidence mounts. Why didn't you say something sooner? He finally asks. Would you have believed me over her? His silence is answer enough. As Lucas is leaving, my phone rings. It's Vera Lynn, her voice wobbling dramatically. Simone? I'm terribly ill. The doctor says it's my heart. I need you to take me in again. After everything we've been through, you can't turn me away now. I close my eyes, recognizing the familiar manipulation tactic. But this time, instead of rushing to help, I simply say, I'll have Lucas drive you to the emergency room. If the doctor confirms it's serious, we can discuss next steps. Her startled silence tells me everything I need to know. The old tactics won't work anymore. For the first time in 12 years, I'm writing my own story. 2 days later, the doorbell rings at precisely 8 in the morning. I open it to find Vera Lynn leaning heavily on a cane, her face drawn with exaggerated pain. Simone? She wheezes, clutching her chest. I need to come in. The doctor says my heart isn't good. I step aside wordlessly, watching as she limps dramatically into the living room, the same living room where she once told me to leave her life. Now she wants back in. You look terrible, I say, not unkindly. Should I call an ambulance? No. The word comes too quickly. I just need rest. And my daughter. She sinks into the armchair, my armchair now, and closes her eyes. The medication makes me so tired. When I turn to get water, I catch her reflection in the hallway mirror. Her grimace vanishes, replaced by calculation as she surveys the room, taking inventory of what might still be hers. The doorbell rings again. Lucas stands there, hands jammed in his pockets. I heard your mom was sick. Thought I should help mediate things. His eyes dart between us, uncertain where loyalty should land. Perfect timing, I say. Come in. Vera Lynn immediately doubles over, hand pressed to her heart. Lucas, thank goodness. Tell Simone how serious this is. Actually, I interrupt, walking to the bookshelf where I've placed a manila folder. I have something for both of you. I pull out copies of bank statements, each transfer highlighted in yellow, beside the original transfer slips with my forged signature, now notarized with the document examiner's statement confirming the forgery. What is this? Lucas asks, taking the papers. Evidence, I say simply. 12 years of financial manipulation, accounts opened in my name, money transferred without my knowledge. Vera Lynn straightens, momentarily forgetting her performance. You're exaggerating. I was just organizing our finances. I pull out another document, sliding it toward Lucas. Her medical records from last week's checkup. Perfect health, no heart issues, no need for medication. Lucas stares at the papers, then at Vera Lynn. Something shifts in his expression, the first crack in his certainty. Aunt? Vera Lynn's face hardens. She's twisting things after everything I've done for her. I know exactly what you've done, I say, my voice steady, and I won't go back to being small so you can feel big. Lucas looks at me, really looks at me, perhaps for the first time. These signatures aren't yours? No, I meet his gaze. And I suspect you've signed things for her too. His silence confirms my suspicion. Vera Lynn stands, suddenly forgetting her heart condition. This is ridiculous. I took care of you your whole life. One little fall, and you abandoned your own mother. You didn't fall, I say quietly. The room goes still. Excuse me? Vera Lynn whispers. I called your doctor last week. There was no fracture 12 years ago. Just a bruise. You could have managed alone after a few days of rest. Lucas turns to Vera Lynn, color draining from his face. Is that true? Her mask slips completely. The helpless mother vanishes, replaced by cold fury. She would have left me, just like everyone else. I needed her here. So you lied, Lucas says, for 12 years. I walk to the closet and pull out a suitcase I packed 2 days ago, placing it by the front door. The living room around us bears little resemblance to what it once was. I've replaced her beige walls with warm terracotta. Her formal furniture has given way to comfortable pieces in rich, earthy tones. My paintings hang where her bland prints once dominated. What's this? Vera Lynn demands, pointing at the suitcase. Your things, I answer. Just your things. She lunges for a crystal vase on the side table. This is coming with me. It was my mother's. It was Grandma Alice's. I correct her firmly. Not yours, and it stays with me. Her hand freezes mid-reach. For the first time, she seems uncertain. Lucas steps between us. Aunt, let's just take what's in the suitcase. You're taking her side? Vera Lynn spits the words. I'm trying to do what's right, he says quietly. Vera Lynn turns to me, tears filling her eyes on command. After everything we've been through together, no one will ever love you like I do. The words hang in the air between us. I've heard them so many times before. The ultimate manipulation, the final trap. But this time, they sound different to my ears. Thank God for that, I say. Lucas guides Vera Lynn toward the door, her protests growing louder with each step. I watch them go, feeling nothing but a profound relief. The door closes behind them, and the house seems to exhale with me. 2 weeks later, Elaine brings over coffee and news. Vera Lynn moved in with your cousin Margaret in Phoenix, she says. The family's in quite an uproar. Will they ever speak to me again? I ask, surprised to find I care about the answer. Elaine shrugs. Some will, some won't. Does it matter? I consider this as I run my fingers along the spines of books I've brought out of storage. Less than I thought it would. Later that evening, I find a box I haven't opened since moving back home. Inside lies my old sketchbook from art school, filled with half-finished drawings and ideas for projects I never completed. The pages fall open to a self-portrait, abandoned mid-stroke, the outline of a woman with no face. I touch the empty space where my features should be, feeling the indentation of pencil on paper. Tomorrow, I'll buy new pencils. A year later, I have built something for myself. I position my easel near the window, the one I wasn't allowed to open for 12 years because the draft would ruin the curtains. Now, sunlight streams across my canvas, illuminating the half-finished landscape. Outside, spring unfurls in bursts of color that I'm trying to capture with each brushstroke. That's coming along beautifully, Simone, says Professor Winters, leaning over my shoulder during our community art class. Your use of light is remarkable. I nod my thanks, still unaccustomed to praise. 3 months ago, I could barely hold a paintbrush without hearing Vera Lynn's voice in my head. Art is a hobby, not a life plan. Now my walls display my vibrant paintings instead of her beige prints of faceless Victorian women. This morning I bought coffee without calculating whether the expense would trigger questions. Last week I rearranged furniture without asking permission. Small freedoms that feel enormous. The timer on my phone chimes. Company arriving in an hour. 1 year after the birthday dinner that shattered my world, I'm hosting my own gathering. The salmon is already marinating. My recipe, not hers. I've draped my newly purchased tablecloth across the dining table, its pattern bold and geometric, where Vera Lynn's had been delicate and fussy. When the doorbell rings, I open it to find Tomas and Elaine carrying a bottle of wine and wildflowers. These are from my garden, Elaine says, handing me the colorful bunch, for your new beginning. June arrives next, looking tentative, until I welcome her with a genuine smile. We forged an unexpected friendship since she chose truth over loyalty to my mother. The house looks completely different, June marvels, taking in the bright throw pillows and art books stacked openly on the coffee table. It feels alive. Like its owner, Tomas adds, raising his glass. During dinner, Lucas asks the question I've been anticipating. Have you heard from Vera Lynn? The table quiets. A year ago. This question would have paralyzed me with guilt and anxiety. She's still with Cousin Margaret in Arizona, I answer evenly. We exchange birthday cards. No bitterness colors my voice, just simple facts delivered without apology or explanation. Later, as we gather around the dessert, a lemon tart that would have been deemed too tart in the old days, Tomas raises his glass. To seeing ourselves clearly at last, and to those who helped us see, I add, meeting each of their eyes in turn. The next morning I kneel in the back garden, digging small holes for the lavender and mint seedlings. The soil feels cool between my fingers as I create homes for these fragrant plants that will eventually spread their roots and thrive. Inside, the spare bedroom waits for its transformation. Paint samples in shades of gold and terracotta line one wall. A drafting table sits in the center, and brochures about teaching art therapy classes at the senior center lie open on its surface. Miss Simone? Two young voices interrupt my gardening. The Henderson girls from down the street stand at my garden gate, holding a plate covered with a checkered napkin. Mom made apple cinnamon muffins, says 8-year-old Katie. She said to bring you some because your garden makes her feel braver. Braver? I ask, accepting the plate. She started painting again, explains 10-year-old Abby. She says if you can make beautiful things after everything, maybe she can too. After they leave, I sit on my garden bench, the plate of muffins beside me. I pull out my journal, no longer hidden but displayed proudly on my nightstand, and write, maybe I wasn't meant to be seen by them, but to see myself. As I plant new roots in the garden that is finally my own, I wonder if true freedom comes from cutting ties completely or from maintaining them at a safe distance. What would you choose? Clean breaks or careful boundaries?